Hi, welcome back to my channel, Just Here to Chat. I wanted to, in today's video, talk a little bit more about those feelings of being stuck. In the last video, we talked more superficially on how that might play out in our lives and how setting long-term goals can oftentimes help to reset us. In this video, I want to talk about a few of the emotions. Well, I'm going to tap on one, but I'm going to do 3 consecutive videos to tap on each one of them. So there's multiple things. We're complex as human beings, but I want to tap on how different emotions can really lend to that feeling of being stuck and how that kind of plays out for us and what we can do about it. So if we think of 3 main emotions that often keep us feeling stuck, we have anger, we have hope, which is what I'm going to talk about today, and we have fear. So I'm going to do an individual video on each one of those, but today my video is going to be about hope. So if you're interested, please stick around and we'll talk about that in a minute. If you like my message, if you like my videos, please like, share, subscribe. Only share if you feel someone can really benefit from it. And no pressure, but the more people that like and share and subscribe, the more chance that some of these messages will get out to more people who may need it. Okay? And please excuse my setting today. It's not overly zen, but it is my office for the time being. So we'll work with what we got, right? So again, stick around if you want to talk about how hope can sometimes lead to us feeling stuck. Hi, welcome back. So thanks for sticking around. Um, Today we're going to talk about how hope can sometimes keep us stuck in situations in our life. Okay. And I know, again, like I kind of tapped on, that can seem almost counterintuitive because hope is something that's supposed to fill us with light, right? It's supposed to, at least our expectations typically around when we say hope, that's something that's going to make us feel good and it keeps us in more of a positive mindset, which can raise our vibration. And so, in any case, it can do all of those things. So, one thing a caveat that I absolutely want to highlight here is that I'm not telling you not to hope because hope is quintessential to human existence, okay? It's one of the things that sets us aside from anything else in the animal kingdom is our ability to hope, our ability to hold on, okay? The problem is if we're holding on and hoping for a scenario that maybe isn't aligned with us, that isn't in our best and highest good, okay? And we've all done this in our life. Like, just go back and think of your first crush, right? 30 years later, even 5 years later, depending on how old you are, you look back and you're like, what was I thinking? Right? Like, ew. And nothing against that person, but usually as we grow in life, which honestly doesn't have much to do with age, it has everything to do with experience, right? You can have someone at 25 that has more life experience than someone at 50. Okay. So again, we never want to get stuck in comparisons. I didn't even list that as one of the things, but that's also something that could keep us stuck is when we're looking at other people's lives and what they've accomplished and comparing it to ourselves. And then it's like, oh my God, this, that. And then we have all these judgments, and don't do that to yourself. Okay. The only person you really ever want to compare yourself to is yourself. Have I had growth? Am I dealing with that situation differently now? Right? That's growth. Progress. We're aiming for progress, not perfection. Perfection, as I've stated in the past, is a construct. It's a measurement tool, but it's not based in reality. What's perfect for me in this moment may not be perfect for me in 5 minutes. Okay? So it's an expression, but it's not an overly realistic one, right? Because there's so much more that goes into it. But anyway, back to hope. So if I'm hoping for a scenario that really isn't good for me, okay, it's just maybe an immediate gratification or something that I really want in the moment, but I haven't really spent a lot of time with my wants and needs and what makes me tick and what's really for my best and highest good. And we, again, I can't highlight enough that we've all been there. Okay. And if you say you haven't, you're lying to yourself. I'm just going to put that out there. Believe it or not, if you spend enough time with yourself and you look at different choices that you've made and different scenarios and everything else, it may have been 10 years ago, but we've all been there. Okay. Especially as kids, because our brains are still developing. I fell into this loophole one time where sometimes we think kids are, you hear people say it. I shouldn't say this loophole, but you hear people say sometimes, oh, kids are stupid because they don't make good choices and da 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 da. Well, duh. That's the whole point of being a kid, right? That's where we're figuring these things out. That's why it's so important to sometimes, obviously not in dangerous situations, but to let them gain their legs, if you will. Let them make their mistakes so that they can learn from them, okay? Because as children, literally, their brains aren't fully developed. They say scientifically that our brains typically aren't fully developed until our mid-20s. Okay, now give or take, because it can vary from person to person. Okay. So if you're working with most of the engine, but you don't have the whole thing, okay, obviously you're going to make mistakes. That's just part of life. And let me tell you, okay, here's another thing that everyone experiences. I don't care if you're 50 years old. Okay, you're 50 years old, you're still going to make mistakes. And you're working with a full brain. Okay? Just saying. It's really just part of the whole experience here on Earth. Okay? Not everyone's going to believe me. Okay? And nor do I expect you to or ask you to. In fact, part of Just Here to Chat is really to have discussions. Okay? Whether you take what I'm saying and you have discussions with people that you know, care about, and trust, go for it. If you want to discuss with me, pop me an email or a comment or something, and we'll go from there. I'm open to discussion because I know I don't know everything. I've said this for years, and then it popped up as a meme that I came across. But the more I learn, I need to learn. That's the whole point. Okay. So, in my opinion, in many other people's opinions too, but not everyone's, I don't believe we're just humans having spiritual experiences, in our lives here and there filtered in. I believe we are divine beings of the cosmos, if you will, whatever you want to describe it, having a human experience. And mainly because there's something to be learned. And if you look at your life, you can learn something new every day, right? That's an expression that a lot of people like to say too. And it's a truism. It really is, because we do learn things every day if we're willing to. So, willingness, okay, that goes in a little bit to that hope that I'm talking about, okay? And what I mean by that is recognizing, okay, what I'm hoping for is this realistic. Now, again, be careful, because it's okay to dream, okay? It's okay to be inspired and not just have to live in a bubble of realism, okay? In fact, sometimes that's the sugar that feeds our joy, right? That's the sugar that feeds our soul, is that I'm inspired to believe beyond the stars, right? It's those dreamers that make things happen in life, as long as they can have and balance it with the pragmatic of let me ground this into reality, okay? Because wherever we may come from, and I don't have all the answers, but wherever we may come from, we're here right now, okay? This is our reality, is this world, and how we choose to show up in it, how we choose to help it evolve, okay, as a society, because we are all connected. We all come from the same source, okay? Now that applies whether you're the creationist or creation, I don't know how you say it, if you believe in creation, Or if you believe in all the other stuff, science and everything else, it's all the same thing, quite truthfully. Because even if you lend towards creationism, I think I'm saying that right. Sorry if I'm not. Um, then you know, God uses science to make things happen. So it's not all or nothing. It's not one or the other. It's really, in fact, I've heard some really amazing scientists say the more they learn, the more they believe in creation, because it all comes from the same place. But again, that's IMO, in my opinion. And we all got opinions. We know what they say there too, right? So, that aside, let's go back to hope. If I'm hoping for um, a friend's recovery, okay, whether from an illness or an injury or I don't know, anything, okay, maybe addictions or other things, mental health issues, whatever the case may be, it's healthy to hold hope for them. You're holding space for them to heal and step into, okay? That's really, really healthy. What we have to be careful about is the expectations we put around that, okay? And we see that play out a lot in this world, especially with anxiety, because expectations is that level of control that we're bringing to the scenario, okay? I want this to happen, but it has to happen in my terms. Right? And we all do this too. Just saying. Some people they swim in it more than others, but we all do this depending on how much it matters to us and how much other emotions we may have around it. Because control, anxiety is fear-based. Okay? It's not bad. It's not. It's there for a reason. It's there to help us if we're running away from a dinosaur or a grizzly bear or we're trying to, you know, be safe. However, through, you know, the evolution of time, the things that we deem as unsafe are more abstract now versus tangible, like the dinosaur or whatever the case may be. Okay. But that doesn't mean we don't run into scenarios where anxiety really does serve us. Okay. It really can. Because, side note, and I know I'm wordy, but I try to grab these concepts as they come to me. Anxiety, if you think about the biological or physiological reaction you have to anxiety, heart starts pumping because it's pushing blood to your extremities. So if you think of your parasympathetic nervous system, right? It's that fight or flight or freeze, right? We push your heart, your body automatically through that signal pushes blood to your extremities so that you can either fight the dinosaur or run from the dinosaur. Okay. Your pupils, they dilate so you can let in more eyes, so you can see more, observe more, right? And it all builds up, okay? And it usually with some level of anxiety, there's stomach issues, other things like that, tension in the body because now we're ready to pounce, right? The problem is now you have all this energy bottled in your body, right? And if what you're having anxiety about is over a math test, what are you going to do with that? Because it's sitting in your body, it has to be discharged. So sometimes that turns into a panic attack, right? Where now I'm panicked, I have all this energy, I have no place to displace it, right? If it was an actual dinosaur, you'd be running from it or you would be fighting it if it was already on you, whatever the case may be. And that would release. And this is why things like exercise can really help with anxiety. But that's, again, another side note, another day. Okay. So the thoughts, the emotions that we have around something, holding space for something is healthy. Having a lot of expectations on it can lead to disappointment, can lead to being stuck. Because if I have to have it a certain way and no other way, or if I'm hoping for something that's too unrealistic, then I might just be holding on to it for a really long time. And that could reduce my options in other areas. Okay. So if you think about in a relational point of view, okay, if I'm holding out hope that um, somebody I care about will care about me, okay, well, if I'm not looking at and checking the facts of the situation, maybe that person isn't available. Maybe that person has goals that they need to achieve and they or to for their own fulfillment. Sometimes control will say, no, if you love me, you got to do this, you got to do it my way, and that might actually happen, but then usually it lends to resentment, because at the end of the day, love is an expression that allows freedom. Okay. I have a little poem that I bought years ago. It says something about, if you love something, let it go free. If it returns, or let it go free. If it's meant for you, it will return. If it returns, love it always, or something like that. But that's a hard thing to sit with. That's release. Okay. So you hear people talk about release so that you can receive. Okay. And it's all an energetic exchange when it gets to that point. And when I talk about energy, I'm also talking about emotion, because anxiety is emotion, but that's that balled up energy, right? So I'm not going all hokey on you. I'm just connecting the dots for you. It's all about your own belief systems as to how you receive that information. Your belief systems are on the words I use, or whatever the case may be. But it's all, at the end of the day, it's all coming from the same place. It's all talking about the same things. Okay. So if you think about law of attraction or manifestation, like they talk about, it's like you focus on something to bring it into you, but then you have to release it in order for it to come. Okay. And it's not healthy to do that around people per se, because if sometimes we, what do they say, a season or a lifetime or whatever the case may be with regards to relationship, not everyone is meant to be in our lives forever, regardless of how much we may want them to be. Okay. And that's a little bit of that hope thing that I'm talking about. And we see that play out sometimes. I'm going to keep praying that this person will love me back, or this person will come to me, or whatever the case may be. Excuse me. That is not healthy in a lot of ways, because it's holding on too tight, and oftentimes that will actually have the opposite effect. Okay. When you hold on too tight, it just becomes uncomfortable. And that's that hope piece that I'm talking about, feeling stuck. Okay, a little bit. So at the end of the day, yeah, if you really want scenarios, or hold on more to the overall bigger picture that you're looking for, okay? Because sometimes the person that you might focus on with regards to relational hope isn't the best case scenario. Sometimes if you're looking for what that person could potentially bring to your life and focus on that, believe and feel it in your body as if you already have it, and then you release, that's how manifestation works, right? That's how you are basically, it's a form of prayer in a sense, right? It's saying, I'm ready for this. This is what I really want, but now I'm leaving it in your hands. Okay. Now, this isn't going to work for someone who doesn't believe in afterlife, or doesn't believe like I do, or doesn't believe in spirit or anything like that. There are people that legitimately feel you close your eyes, you return to dust, and you cease to exist. I do not believe that at all. Okay. Whether I'm right or wrong, it's between me and the universe, I guess, right? You believe the way that makes you feel fulfilled, okay? If your beliefs, and I've said this before, do not make you feel good or positive or or whatever makes you feel fulfilled, well, then you have to look at it, because at the end of the day, beliefs are just beliefs and we don't have proof. Okay? I don't care how much faith you have, you don't have proof. Okay? Now, some would contest that, and that's okay too. Because maybe there is proof of that. I don't know. Like I said, I don't have all the answers. I'm just trying to talk about how this can play out. Okay? So at the end of the day, I might be wrong. And that's okay. Because at the end of the day, in my opinion, it's not about right or wrong. It's about, how do I live a fulfilling life that's kind of in the flow, where I don't feel stuck. Okay? So with regards to that, it's important not to hold on to things that aren't necessarily meant for you. Okay? And again, we can look back. I was just saying this to someone the other day. Garth Brooks' song, Unanswered Prayers. It's a perfect example. How in high school he had his girlfriend and he thought she was the love of his life, and how he wanted nothing but her for the rest of his life, and prayed and prayed and prayed and hoped and hoped and hoped. He goes to his high school reunion with his wife and he's thanking God for unanswered prayers, because he found someone that was more aligned with him over time. It's a simple thing, but and we can play this out not just in relationships. It can be jobs. It can be, oh, I really want to live in that location, or I really want to live this type of a lifestyle. And then maybe you find that it really isn't for you. Okay? That's okay. Life is about those adjustments. And I talked about that in the last video. When we realize, let's not get stuck in more emotion of shame or guilt or this, that, or whatever, but to be able to move forward. Okay? To be able to take that and course correct without the judgment, the shame. Okay? And sometimes that's hard if we really, really put a lot into other people's opinions. Because at the end of the day, nobody has all the facts, no matter how much they may put it out there like they do. And this is why it's really important for you to understand that I'm telling you from my experiences and my knowledge, but what's right for me won't necessarily be right for you. So it's just a tool to kind of look at yourself from a different perspective, because that, I can tell you, is what dictates most things in your life, is your perspective around it. Okay? So you don't have to agree with your perspective once you realize how it is, but you can change it if you don't. Okay? It's just a lot of work. But willingness will say, I'm either willing to put the work in or I'm not. Okay? I'm willing to see this for what it is or how it's presenting itself, or I'm not. We see this happen a lot of times. People get stuck in relationships because they have an idealized version of what's actually happening, and they're not looking at the facts. Okay? Facts speak a lot. They can be altered, but pay attention. Are you stuck? Are you stuck in a relationship? Or are you stuck in a way of thinking? Okay? And then why? Because it's usually, everything in our brain is through association. So there's always connections. Okay? So if you find that I'm being really hopeful over something that's not realistic, then I'm setting myself up for disappointment, right? I'm setting myself up to be stuck while I wait for something that is probably never going to come. This is not an easy thing to deal with, because it's really hard to know the difference between something that, oh, if I just hold on a little bit longer, if I just hold on a little bit longer, it will show up. I don't want to give up hope, because then what's after that, or whatever the case may be. But this is why it's really important to factor in freedom of choice. Like I've always said, we cannot control other people's choices. You can use all the skills. You can show up perfect. Perfect, right? With all the skills and use the best communication and everything else, but the other person has choice. Okay? And it may not go in your favor. And sometimes those are cold hard facts that we have to be willing to accept. Okay? Acceptance. Well, I'm going to do a whole slew of videos on acceptance alone, because it's not easy. It's easier said than done, accepting. Okay, we see that fall through. I mean, we see that happen with grief. We see that happen with any kind of fallouts. So many different things in life. Our willingness to accept the reality as it is not always there, and therefore we can get stuck in hope. Okay, whether that's hope around, I don't know, politics, or hope around religion, or hope around relationships, or hope around a promotion, or hope around anything. Hope in itself is a very positive thing, but make sure, like anything else, when you're using it, that you're using it responsibly, wisely, and realistically. Okay? That doesn't mean don't dream, doesn't mean don't aspire to something greater or better or newer, whatever the case may be. But always, with anything in life, we want to find the balance. Okay? And pay attention to what's actually happening and not just what you're holding on to. Okay? So that's, hopefully that makes sense. That's my 2 cents, and I went way over. I apologize, but I think it's an important message. If it hits for you, then it hits for you. If it doesn't, just leave it. It's not meant to throw anyone into a tailspin. It's just information that we can apply to ourselves some way or fashion. And if it's too much, then you get help around that. You talk to somebody, right? We're not meant to do everything alone in our heads, okay? But I like to throw out interesting ways of looking at things, and hopefully it's helpful in the long run, okay? Any questions, like I said, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, if it's the message not for you, just leave it. Keep it scrolling. But hopefully my intention is that it's something that can help in the long run, or something, at the very least, it's a seed to plant that you can recognize if and when it comes up for you. Okay. I guess that's it. So I hope you have a wonderful day. And I will be doing 2 more videos around stuck. The next one will be either fear or anger. And but I'll get them both out, okay? All right. Have a great one. Bye.